The fallout from Suella Braverman being sacked is rolling on. Now she's urging the Prime Minister to ditch his magical thinking, as she calls it, and change the law so they can actually deport migrants to Rwanda and do it really quickly. I don't know whether the government should carry on trying to do this, Lynn.
I think Suella Braverman is being disingenuous, especially as she's a lawyer herself. She should know that it's not as simple as what she's stating, and she's, making Rishi Sunak look as though, he can just do it with boom, 1, 2, 3. And that's not the case. For her to suggest to change the Immigration Act, that would essentially mean what she wants is, as soon as they arrive here, that we turn them back within days, as opposed to months. Now, how would that actually work? Firstly, where would you put them? She's already said with the Rwanda deal that only about 500 people are going to be sent to Rwanda. So, with the thousands that's coming in, I think she's being extremely, like I said, disingenuous.
A bit like the barge.
And divisive, exactly.
The barge was there, suddenly there was a virus on it, and now it's not being used. Let's just have a closer look at what she said, because she's actually in the Telegraph today, OK, Suella Braverman, and she's doing a kind of running commentary on the Prime Minister. The Supreme Court ruling on Rwanda made the ground open up under Rishi Sunak. That's the point of what's happened this week. You see the quake, and he's just upside down in the hole there. And of course, she's not helping, because she's done this 3-page resignation letter criticising him for wishful thinking and all that. And now she comes in today with this, look at this, tinkering with a failed plan will not stop them. The key word here, tinker, is really insulting to the Prime Minister. OK, let's go through the article together. So she says the key issue is not about sending people to Rwanda. It's about this. Who's in charge? Where does authority sit? Is it with the people, or was it with judges and other lawmakers? It's about who's in charge, she says. So she says there must be no more magical thinking, tinkering. That's her attack on Rishi Sunak. We lost, classic sliding tackle from the former Home Secretary. We lost in the Supreme Court because the judges determined that Rwanda can't be trusted not to send people back again. And she goes through a whole load of stuff here about how it will go wrong under the Prime Minister's option. And she says what we need to do is amend the Illegal Migration Act, and we do a number of things to stop anyone saying Rwanda can't be trusted. So number one, you embed UK observers in Rwanda so they can say, look, nothing untoward is happening. Number two, you then improve Rwanda's own asylum system so the judges can't say again, we don't trust it. Here she goes. Number three, the bill must enable flights before the next general election. So you do that. Number four, you stop any more litigation as well. And you've got to get round, she says, the Human Rights Act, the European Convention on Human Rights, the Refugee Convention, and all of that must be tied up with this Illegal Migration Act. OK? So there's a hell of a lot here. And then she says, and as Lynn Mayer said, those arriving illegally must be removed in a matter of days, not months, under what she calls the Illegal Migration Act, and it is an emergency. So that's she's shutting the door on Rishi Sunak's plans, that's for sure. But looking at all that, I'm sort of... I don't know if it's all a load of guff, Chris.
Why did you say all this before?
Well, because she says she asked the Prime Minister.
I think we need to be aware that in the next 12 months there's going to be a general election, and Rishi Sunak looks like he's going to lose. There'll therefore be a leadership contest inside the Conservative Party, and Suella Braverman is positioning herself as a candidate of the Conservative right. And there are a number of issues, we're going to come on to one in a minute, about benefits, but there are a number of issues which the Conservative right are fixated about, one of which is, of course, migration. What annoys me about this is she's talking about international legislation, which was passed in the wake of the Second World War to give people rights. People fleeing from persecution or from war or whatever have rights.
Well, she wants to take us out of that.
Exactly. She's asking us to take us out of legislation, set up the EHC, our European Court, which is not the European Union.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, but her argument is, who's in charge here? Is it the British people, or is it a bunch of
that reminds me of
judges
Brexit
elsewhere?
Rhetoric, where they said we'd be in charge, and I'm still waiting for myself to be in charge.
See, no, I just think this is a red herring, because this whole, her suggesting who's in charge, is it, this court that's, the ECHR? Well, to be honest with you, the Supreme Court doesn't have to actually listen to the ECHR, and they were the ones who did the ruling. So, and they are the ones in our country. So, as we know, with Hurst versus United Kingdom on prisoners' voting rights, we didn't really adhere to what the court said then. So I think she's just saying a lot of things, like you said, to position herself. But I would be very careful to all those who are, supporting her now. Yes, she's doing exactly what people criticise Rishi of doing to Boris Johnson. She's stabbing him in the back. So how can you actually trust her? OK,
the key word that came out of this judgment is a word I haven't heard before, refoulement. So refoulement is when Rwanda accepts a migrant that we've sent there, and they then, about 6 weeks later, boot them out. That's so the judges said, we can't be sure that Rwanda won't do refoulement. And her word, interestingly, you'd think she'd just say, well, send them to another country. She doesn't. She says you've got to put observers in, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to tighten up Rwanda's system. So she wants to stick with Rwanda, Chris.
She also wants to change Rwanda's laws. So she's saying we should be exempt from international laws, but we've got the right, Britain has got the right to go into a former colony and change the law. So it's quite an interesting take. Well, she still thinks it's a British Empire.
I'm sure Rwanda would be willing.
I think previously they were discussing sending these people to Ascension Island, which, if you might remember, from the Falklands War, and the Falklands.
Yes.
But they decided against that because it would upset the Argentinians, so they withdrew that. So they're cast around. These people have got rights, and also, as I repeat, most of them are coming from war zones, and we've created those war zones.
Karen in Lincolnshire, hi.
Hi there.
What do you think of this? Well, we're never going to get to the end of this thing, are we?
I don't think so. I think it's more of a dead cat. I think I'd like to know who Suella Braverman thinks that she is. But I also would like to point out that it's a reciprocal arrangement with Rwanda. And so they are then able to send their own refugees to the UK in a reciprocal arrangement.
They don't have as many.
No, they don't have as many, but they only have room for 200 refugees anyway. So for 140 million so far, it seems, it's just inhumane and crazy. But as I say, it's a dead cat. It's to get us out of the European Court of Human Rights.
I see. That's meaning dead cat, not as a distraction, but as a way of suddenly making everyone go, oh, let's get out of it, and just jumping us all.
Exactly.
I see.
Yes,
OK. Yeah. Karen, thank you very much. Interesting. We'll take some more calls on this after the break. Should the government change its current laws? Essentially, Suella Braverman is kind of suggesting what Rishi Sunak is suggesting, but with knobs on. Change everything to get the Rwanda flights going. Or should we just give up on the whole thing now?